Picture a torpedo-shaped hunter cruising a Permian sea, sunlight striping the water, silt drifting like snow. At the tip of its lower jaw, a spiral of teeth unfurls, like a rolled-up bandsaw blade. This is Helicoprion. For a century, we guessed wrong about that spiral. Nose ornament? Throat saw? Spinning blade? Today, CT scans and careful models pin it down. The whorl sat in the lower jaw, and when Helicoprion closed its mouth, the front teeth didn't spin. They sliced and they pulled. Let's open the jaw and watch the mechanism work. Start with the fossil truth. Almost every Helicoprion fossil is the tooth whorl, a coiled conveyor of teeth that never shed. New teeth formed deep in the coil. As replacements grew, they pushed older teeth forward and outward, building the spiral like a rolled scroll. That's weird even for sharks and their kin. Instead of discarding old teeth, Helicoprion kept them all. The oldest crowns are on the outer rim, sharp and worn. That wear tells us where the action happened, right at the leading edge of the whorl. For decades, paleontologists argued over where the whorl fit. Mounted on the snout like a buzzsaw? Curled in the throat like a pasta fork? The answer arrived with a rare Idaho specimen scanned in 3D. The spiral locked into the front of the lower jaw, anchored in a long midline cartilage called the symphysis. It met a firm upper palate. No spinning, no wild gears. It was a fixed tool built into moving jaws. The geometry finally made sense of the tooth wear and the bite marks we don't see in the fossil record. Here's the punchline. The whorl acted like a powered conveyor only when the jaw moved. As muscles closed the mouth, the front of the whorl rolled slightly backward and up, pressing the lead teeth into prey. Picture a zip tie tightening. The tip seized, sliced, and dragged soft tissue inward. When the mouth opened, the whorl returned, ready for the next cut. No rotation on its own, just elegant motion linked to jaw closure. All the cutting power focused on a narrow blade at the spiral's rim. Let's break the motion into beats. The top jaw braced, the lower jaw lifted. The symphyseal cartilage holding the whorl swung up and back. That small pivot changed the attack angle of the front teeth from outward facing to inward slicing. The lid cusp snagged, then the next, and the next, like the teeth of a handsaw. Computer models show force concentrated at the whorl tip, not spread across the coil. That's efficient for slicing soft prey, not for crushing armor or bone. The machine was precise, not brute. Tooth wear and microchips in fossil crowns back this up. The outermost teeth show heavy polishing and breakage on their cutting edges. Farther back on the coil, crowns are unworn, teeth that never engaged prey directly. If Helicoprion chewed like a grinder, we'd expect flattened facets along the spiral. We don't see that. Instead, the bite zone is local and lethal, which matches a snatch and slice behavior. Grab soft prey, pull it in with each closing stroke, and feed it to the throat in ribbons. So what did it look like doing that? Picture a streamlined chondrichthyon with a tall asymmetrical tail for thrust, pectoral fins steering in gentle S-curves. The mouth sits low, the spiral just peeking from the lower jaw when open wide. A sudden lunge. Jaw closes. The whorl's front cusp scythes up into the prey and retreats, hauling slack tissue inside. The body barely twists. The jaw motion does the work. This was not a flailing biter. It was a measured cutter tuned to seize and process soft-bodied targets in open water. Why soft prey? The tooth crowns are sharp, narrow, and blade-like, poor tools for cracking shells. There's little evidence of crushing damage on the whorls. Helicoprion lived in oceans rich with coiled cephalopods and other squid-like swimmers. Soft tissue offers a high-calorie prize with low resistance. The conveyor slice system shines here. Little force lost, quick recovery between bites, and minimal damage to the teeth that matter most, the ones at the rim of the spiral. Biomechanics add another clue. jaws need leverage to crush. Helicoprion's long lower symphysis and forward-placed whorl trade leverage for reach and speed. A long outlever boosts tip speed but lowers raw bite force at the hinge. Exactly what you'd pick for cutting flesh rather than cracking armor. That fits the fossil wear, the modeled forces, and the jaw geometry seen in CT scans. Its power was placement and motion, not muscle brute force. The system is elegant. Because it's specialized, let's clear 3 myths. First, the spinning saw myth. Teeth don't rotate independently. Cartilage can't run bearings. Second, the nose saw mount. Putting the whorl out front gives no bracing surface and doesn't match known jaw cartilage. Third, the throat grinder. A spiral that deep would block the gills and still can't explain the focused wear at the rim. The lower jaw, inward slicing mount, solves all 3 problems with one simple, testable geometry. Growth makes the spiral even cooler. Every new tooth added at the coil center nudged the entire row forward, so the same oldest tooth kept working pass after pass until it finally reached the outermost edge. Imagine your teeth riding an escalator for years before retiring. The whorl literally records the animal's life in tooth count. Bigger whorl, older Helicoprion. And because no tooth was shed, the animal carried its complete dental history polished right into the fossil. Feeding probably looked like a 2-step. Intercept, then process. First, the rush. Short burst, body straight, pectorals tight, tail beating. Then the hold. Lower jaw clamps, whorl tip bites and retracts, pulling prey deeper to the palate. With each close and open, more tissue slides past the lead teeth. Fast, efficient, low splash. In a murky Permian sea, a hunter that wastes little energy and leaves fewer thrashing signals has an edge. The buzzsaw look is dramatic, but the behavior was surgical. How fast could it cut? Models suggest the front teeth moved through an arc synced to jaw speed, not free spinning. That means the cut rate depended on how quickly Helicoprion could cycle its jaws. With light, blade-like cusps and a long-out lever, rapid closure at the tip was likely. Think multiple shallow slices in a second or 2, not one massive chop. More bread knife than cleaver. The payoff? Less chance of teeth snapping and more control over exactly where the cut traveled. The body plan remains partly mysterious. Cartilage doesn't fossilize well, but a shark-like outline fits the relatives. Streamlined torso, large heterocircle tail for thrust, and eyes set to watch the strike zone. No armor, no massive skull plates, nothing to slow the jaw mechanism. Everything points to an animal tuned to roam the water column and make quick grabs. It wasn't the biggest bully in a brawl. It was a specialist with a tool that most fish simply didn't have an answer for. Then the Permian ended. Food webs crashed, oxygen patterns shifted, and many specialists vanished. Eugeneodonts, Helicoprion's wider clan, disappear by the early Triassic. Was the spiral too specialized for a changed sea? Maybe. If soft-bodied prey collapsed regionally, or if new competitors filled those midwater lanes, a conveyor slicer might lose its edge. But fossils show Helicoprion ranged widely before that. Idaho, Russia, Australia. So for a time, the design worked brilliantly across oceans. Step back and admire the engineering. A tooth factory that never throws parts away. A jaw that turns closing force into inward pull. A blade that sharpens its story with every pass, writing a spiral timeline as it grows. It's not a monster buzzsaw. It's a precise intake system hiding in plain sight. The next time you see that famous coil, don't picture spinning metal. Picture a living conveyor belt that fed one of prehistory's strangest success stories. Would you trust a smile that gets sharper the longer you stare?